If you want to change something, look at what the root cause is instead of looking at the symptom. If you don't have enough energy, if you can't focus, if you want to lose weight, if you want to, whatever it is, look to what is causing that as opposed to fixing that symptom, and you will get much greater results.
Yo, welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we sit down, pull up a chair, and we get started. This podcast is designed to provide you packed full of information to help you with your training, nutrition, lifestyle, and well-being, where we interview myself through case studies to give you lifetime experience. And then we also interview high-performing individuals or other career-focused people who are looking to make changes in their lifestyle, training, nutrition, and well-being. So let's pull up that chair and let's go. Yo, welcome to Table Talk. Today we have a special guest. Now, usually if you think of a special guest, you've probably met them, had a conversation with them. For me, it was talking about mushrooms. Yes, mushrooms was the linking denominator here. However, Harrison and I connected in Sutherland in the cafe talking about health and vitality and really about the fundamentals of health and well-being, because we found that a lot of our clientele stressed, overworked, run down, want the body, but just don't know how to get there. And so Harrison's coming on today to talk to us about the hierarchy of health, but also to talk about his company or his team called the 5 Uncommon Men and how they work with people. So Harrison, thanks for jumping on with us today. Looking forward to it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, mate.
So let's just dive straight in, which is the 5 Uncommon Men. Why not lads or bros? Why 5 Uncommon Men?
Could have been the Stallions or the Knights, the Uncommon Knights. That would have been cool.
Girthy. It could have been.
Could have been so much more majestic, I think. But I don't know how many guys resonate with that in this era anyway.
Yeah, so it's just 5 guys, just 5 gents having a good time.
Just 5 guys fucking around, finding out, just trying to change the world for the better.
When we were off air, we were talking about the hierarchy itself. And so for anyone that's listening, for most of us, work with a personal trainer. A lot of the time when we're taught, it's literally do a health questionnaire, tell us what your goal is in the next 12 weeks, your fat loss or muscle gain. Then you train 2 to 4 times a week and then off you go. And that's pretty much how a lot of us are taught. And what kind of made Harrison, his team, stand out is that he'd been doing something I'd say very different, which is actually not just goals, but actually understanding the person themselves that you're dealing with. So Harrison, could you take us through kind of I guess, where would someone start with you and how does the hierarchy differ from the typical approach of 12-week goals?
So I guess our big differing point is focusing on why people have kind of the issue that they do. And so, when you see either men's health magazines or a lot of trendy supplements or routines, they very much focus on like the tip of the iceberg. And so for some people, you might get results from doing a very intense calorie deficit for a few weeks, or a week or 2, depending on how hard you want to go. But essentially, for a lot of people, myself included, and that's one of the reasons why I believe in it so strongly, is because I very much used to be one of those people. Like, my idea of health was eat as little carbs as possible, train as much as possible, and if you've got abs, then nothing else matters. That is health. And I didn't factor in that my emotional state was trash because I had low confidence, because I was always anxious, because I was drinking 10 cups of coffee a day, and consequently my sleep was horrible. So I was always like shaking and irritable and getting my missus for absolutely nothing. But I thought I was healthy, right? I was like, I've got the body. What do you mean? That's health, right?
You've got the abs.
That's it. I can say whatever I want. I can treat you however I want. I've got abs. Shut up and take it. Turns out a lot of people don't like that approach. And so when I first heard about this approach of like the nervous system and the importance of sleep, I hadn't heard anyone else talking about that before. So I was intrigued by that, and then made a couple of changes. Firstly, reducing that amount of caffeine, putting some more effort into actually reducing that stress or controlling how I handled certain levels of stress, and the impact that had in my emotional state. My anxiety massively dissipated. My confidence massively changed because I wasn't so stressed out, so thinking about what everyone else was thinking. I was able to be much more present in social situations, in conversation, and I was just having a higher quality of life. I was enjoying things a lot more because I wasn't so just jittery all the time. And because of that change, I was able to get better results in the gym. I was able to just improve in areas that I hadn't before because I didn't even see them as a problem. And then I thought, if I considered myself pretty healthy before that, physically at least anyway, maybe not so mentally, but if I was able to improve to that level, what about other people that don't have that foundational understanding of health? Like, how much could it impact their life? Guys that are running a business, dads or other people that are not just responsible for themselves, but how their mood, their health, their performance affects other people in their own ecosystem. Yeah. And so that's the level of impact that I've seen it have personally. And that's why I'm so passionate about being able to help other guys achieve something similar, because I know personally what a difference that can make.
And I guess 3 points to this is, number one, for those that are listening, you may and not watching, there is smoke coming out of Harry's video, because he is on fire already. Look at him. Is that sage that you're burning?
It's a little incense down here. Yeah.
So 2 is practicing what you preach. Clearly love that, which I'll come back to throw in a sec, is from everything you've just said, I guess, how do you effectively do that yourself? Like, what was the routine? I can picture it now. You get up, you do your cardio, you have your coffee, you fasted, then you train, no carbs, it's all protein, a bit of fat, versus what is what mindfulness, I can worry about that when I'm dead, right? Versus what's the routine look like now?
So then, because I gave absolutely no regard to what my body was trying to tell me, it was, you get up at 6 a.m. every morning, doesn't matter if you went to bed at 1 a.m. or 5 p.m., doesn't it's no bullshit, doesn't matter if it's your birthday, doesn't matter if your dad died yesterday, you get to the gym. Well, first you double scoop your pre-workout, watch some motivational shit, get to the gym, lift some heavy stuff for like 2 hours until you are absolutely cooked. And at this point, pre-workout was Mesomorph, Jacked 3D, the not so legal stuff. And so not only do you have that massive high, but you have this then come down afterwards where you start to question your entire being. And then you just caffeinate yourself enough to get through the day, wander through work, and then go for a run later in the day, and then you're going back to square one. So that was fun.
Did you ever have the Reaper?
No, I didn't.
I didn't have this, but I was chatting with George on it. I go, you're the Reaper. And it was literally, the slogan was, get it before it's banned. And it had the picture of the Reaper on the material. I'm like, so much is wrong with that. And he's like, yeah. But
knowing full well what they are doing, like, this is going to be banned. It will borderline kill you, but just get it while it's hot.
Yeah, you'll get jacked. And he's like, my 1 hour workout went for 3.5 hours. It was great. I was able to do so much. I'm like, it's stress.
What is fatigue?
How long did you do that for?
Did that for a couple of years. Basically the entire chefing apprenticeship. So probably 3 to 4 years on that.
Being shouted out by your boss. It's not.
Yeah, and being on your feet all day. So like, it was an average of 20,000 steps a day. The routine was get up, double scoop, go to the gym, train weights, go to work, in the break, go for a run, come back, work the rest of the night, go to sleep at 12 o'clock, and then get up at 5:36, do it all again.
Yeah. God, goosebumps. Just reminding of my baking, chefing.
Oh, fun times.
Hey, and just the simple things you get shouted at. You make one cut wrong and it's always on edge. Clearly you're not a chef anymore. But obviously you can cook up a mean roast. What's the routine like now? Like, you still get it, for me personally, get up at 5:15 every single day. Like, still have some ritual or routine, but it's not suck it up, get up. It's cool. I'm up at 5:15, feel like dog's breakfast, take the hour, lay there, rest, recover, and then get up. Is that something you still do, or what does the routine look like for you now?
Yeah, so it definitely took what was pivotal for me in being able to listen to my body, because clearly that listening to my emotions I saw as like a weakness. You're not disciplined if you give in to how you feel, which is a flawed logic. So I literally had to get or
listen to my feelings. No.
Idiot. So I had to get an Oura ring. So I've actually got data to tell me hey, dude, you need to sleep. You need to chill the fuck out because you're going to burn out. And so, mind you, as well, whilst I was going through this approach, just after I started my chefing apprenticeship, a month after that, I had my first seizure. So I got told that I've got epilepsy. And so for me personally, my triggers are alcohol, sleep deprivation, and stress. So I was doing a great job of, at least I wasn't drinking. I did a great job of managing the other two, clearly.
Or moderation, of course.
Yeah, of course. I can, if I sleep at all, that's enough, right?
Look, if you had alcohol, you wouldn't have had a six-pack. So good choice.
Exactly right.
Well, was that the pivoting point? Like, did you take a pivot there where you like had the seizure and you're like, okay, I need to make a change? Or were you like kept going?
It took a lot longer for me to then realize that what I was doing wasn't actually sustainable. So, had the seizure, the doc's like, hey man, no more than 1 or 2 light beers a night. You should monitor your stress. You should do all these. Yeah. This is a month after I turned 18, mind you, as well. So I'm finally legal to go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
And then I get slapped with that. And then I was like, yeah, I guess I'll listen to him. And then 6 months later, we're on a family holiday with one of my best mates over in Queenstown. And then they've got a bar over there, which is kind of like World Bar, where they serve it in the teacups and stuff like that. And then so we're like, fuck him. What does the doctor know? He's only a neurosurgeon. Screw him. And then so, had a few of the teapots, had a good night. It was all good. And I was like, oh, what a clown. Why don't I listen to that guy? And then the next morning at about 8 o'clock was in the lounge room of the hotel in front of my sister, in front of my dad, full seizure, full convulsions, vomiting, foaming at the mouth, like fitting hard. And luckily it was at that time, because about 60 minutes later, I would have...
At the hotel too. Yeah.
I timed it well.
Yeah.
About 60 minutes later, I would have been strapped to some random guy hundreds of meters in the air going paragliding off like the mountain. So avoided that way. And there's been a couple of instances like that where I've like narrowly, not consciously, like timed it and avoided death somehow. So I'm meant to be here for something, at least.
Well, for those that, if you want to skip ahead, go to the next episode. Harry is here for BJs. That is his mission, is to give everyone BJs, and it'll make sense in the next episode. The third part I was going to ask, because like a big connection for us is James Can. Did you just like, because you've had a few points where it didn't make the full shift yet. Did you have another moment like the Aura ring and the data gave it to you, or like when did you pivot and when did you kind of connect with James? Because like I know he, for both of us, is like hierarchy of health. He has some pretty cool tools that we've used ourselves.
Yeah.
How did that? Where are we on the journey here?
So this was at the start of my apprenticeship. So I was 18 at this point. Went through the rest of my apprenticeship having seizures almost to the week, about every 6 months. And so, so for a while, and not much kind of changed. And then eventually,
you had abs.
Still had abs.
We got to remember, we still had abs.
Well, so what they tell you is having a seizure is the equivalent on your body of running an entire marathon. So if I can run in a marathon in like 60 seconds, 90 seconds flat, like that's ultimate efficiency when it comes to cardio. So like, I don't know how many calories it burns, but like secret weapon, get epilepsy and you'll be shredded.
Disclaimer, this is obviously not the way to do it. But yes, very time efficient.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you only get a 30-minute lunch break. You got to run, get a marathon in. Wow.
Yeah, nail it. So finished the apprenticeship, decided it would be a good idea to do a physique competition. So went into the sports model competition category for that. Then went overseas for about 2 years, did a working holiday in London and Canada, and then came back. And the intention was to work gaining as much money as I could and then just go back because my visa was up and I had to leave the country anyway. And then so while I was back, had a checkup with the doc and kind of told him what was been going on. And I only had one while I was away, but I was working 18-hour days in this hellhole in London. So it was like, no wonder I had a fit. And then so the neurologist literally said, like, you need to get out of kitchens. If you keep doing, you can't do double shifts. If you do double shifts, you'll end up crashing your car, which I've done, or like you'll end up killing yourself somehow because you won't die having the seizure. But if you're doing it, standing over a deep fryer or driving a car or doing something dangerous, then like you'll die. It's like, okay, maybe I should consider doing something about this. Maybe.
What does this doctor know? Man,
Yeah.
and for 6 years, running marathons, killing it.
Mate, like, what part of this doesn't scream elite health to you? Like,
Doctor doesn't have a six-pack. What do they know?
no, amateur. And then so from there went into working into cafes, and then went into
Because that's completely different.
It's much better. At least I didn't have to do double shifts, right? I like getting up in the mornings. I could finish work by 3:00, and I had some form of life. So I did cafes part-time while I then did my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and then made that transition over into the health and wellness kind of space.
Hang on, what made you want to do your Cert 3, Cert 4?
Well, I always loved the gym.
Okay.
I love training. I love doing that. And that was as much as it went. Like my logic for even going into chefing was, and this is somewhat flawed now, given I now have the realities of life, that if I at least liked what I did, then I could put up with the shit hours and the shit pay. That was the logic. And so that logic wasn't fully broken yet. And that at least if I liked what I did, then, okay, I can make something out of it. I'll give it a try. And then...
paid to eat.
Sorry?
I just want to get paid to eat.
Yeah. Well, exactly right. I can utilize the fact that I've got abs. That seems to work for other people. And at this time, keep in mind, my confidence was based on my abs. I figured that I could be an absolute doorknob of a personality, but if I had abs, it was okay. So when it then came to talking to people, that logic is again pretty flawed, right? Like, doesn't do so well with a lot of the baby oil out. Yeah. So that logic doesn't really work when you're trying to train people. Some people it does. Probably do very well in Oxford Street, but that wasn't the market that I was kind of going for. And then about a year into that journey, came across James on socials talking about the nervous system and sleep and stress and all this stuff that I'd never even really heard of, and was intrigued by that. And was talking to my now wife at the time about it. And for my birthday, she paid for him to come down to Gold's at Miranda and train me for a session. So that was the first time that I ever face-to-face.
No way. She paid for your birthday. That's awesome.
Yeah. So he came down, I did some deadlifts, had an awesome session. And then 3-4 months after that, signed up as a client, and then went through that whole process of cutting the caffeine, focus on the sleep, focus on the nervous system, all that kind of stuff. And then got to that place where I was so much calmer, so much more in control. I wasn't just looking for fights. I wasn't so irritable. And then this was then coming up to first bout of COVID. So early 2020. And then they were looking for a new coach. And then because I was at PT, so I had experience coaching people, I'd lived the lifestyle, got awesome results, absolutely frothed it, raved about it. They offered me a position. And then so with the shutting down of everything over COVID, gave me some time to then upskill in terms of the extra knowledge that I needed to be able to coach those methodologies as opposed to just implement them myself. And then transitioned, I think after the lockdowns lifted, I went back to the kitchen for a week and then got rid of that and then went full-time into online. And March will be, this was 4 years now that happened.
So 7-8 years with kitchens, seizures, and then being told you should do it. Hear about a man called James, talks about the nervous system, and you're like, something here. Mrs., who got you birthdays, which was, I believe, yesterday. Birthdays yesterday?
Yesterday? No, anniversary was yesterday.
Anniversary. Well, kudos to you, sir, for yesterday. And she got you the gift. James came down, had a great session, and then just long and behold, just continues to evolve from there. And there ever since.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've gone from 6 a.m., double scoop, train, no carbs because they don't bring joy ever, proteins and runs, chefing. And then you said, when you started with James, cut the coffee, work on the sleep. How much of a shock was that to you, hearing that? You're doing this, don't do that.
It was a huge shock because I felt like I was being lazy. I felt like if I wasn't doing things, then I was being slack. Yeah. I was being lazy. Like I wasn't factoring in that you need to recover in order to grow and adapt, that you can't be doing things 24/7 or going that hard 24/7 and expect to not just absolutely fry yourself.
Yeah. Do you remember the routine, like when you started?
It's very similar to what I do now. In terms of especially my evening routine, that has barely changed. And my morning routine has tweaked slightly over the years. Like one big factor, obviously, my son being here, that changes a couple of things in terms of the timing. But in terms of the evening routine, that's pretty much the same.
So what are the morning routines and evening routines, if you don't mind sharing?
So morning routine at the moment looks like 4 a.m. get up, and then 5 to 10 minutes, I'll sit there and stretch while my mind kind of starts to load and get up, hydrate. So like load, just like, that old dial up, like loading that up, and then sit down. I'll do about an hour of deep work, whether that's, some creative work or something that I kind of needed to get done for either Primal or for Uncommon, and then go off to the gym. And then once I'm back at about 6:45, usually my wife is feeding my son at that point. And then after he's done, we'll pack him up, we'll go for a walk. And then if the weather permits, sit on the grass in the sun for 10, 15 minutes, and then have breakfast and start the day.
So your routine's a little earlier now?
A little earlier. Ideally, I'd be able to get more in during the day, but there's that level of unpredictability with the sun, the young son at least anyway.
Where?
Shut up.
That's it. Get a job, to the kitchen. And your nighttime routine?
And so at night, about if my wife is home and not still at work, at about 6 we'll have dinner. 6, and then after that, shower my son. 6:30 to 6:45, we'll put him to bed, and then blue light blocking glasses on. If I've got orders to pack for Primal, we'll pack those, get those ready for the next day. Yes, ultimate airbornes, and then they do the job.
I can't be trusted. Like, I'll misplace them.
I've got like the full speed dealer ones, the wraparound ones, so you look like a space cadet.
Got 4 of those, yeah. Primal
orders, and then any last minute things that I need to do for the morning. So get the gym bag out, make sure my drink bottle's full, clean the kitchen if we need to, and then just debrief with the wife. If I've had a stressful day, we'll make an extra effort to either do some meditation or some journaling. Otherwise, it'll just be read, shower, and bed.
Yeah, awesome.
So like kind of what you said in terms of like it's flexible in the sense of what I feel I need for the day. There's obviously going to be some days where, cool, not a whole lot of interest happened today. I don't feel like I need to download all this stuff out of my head. And on the flip side, there's other days where my mind still feels like it's just churning a million miles an hour, where I've got half a novel to write so that I can pre-handle that before I get to bed.
And pivoting from morning, evening, which sounds like that's a lot of what you guys currently do in the 5 Uncommon Men. I guess people that are listening up to now, it's like you've got an idea of a routine. Everyone's got stress, yet we all tend to have, a lot of people are high performers or career focused, and they're wanting to obviously get ahead to get the edge. When someone comes to speak with you guys, what are maybe one of the 3 common themes that you tend to see? And then we'll pivot into asking more around training. Is there a way for people to continue to improve their stress management, their sleep? I guess, because you've got people that kind of sit on the fence, like they're focused on their career, so there's always stress, but then they're trying to work on their health and well-being. And so like there's this constant seesaw action. When they come to see you, what are the main things that you focus on with them to kind of get them off the seesaw so they can dominate the career, but still work on that health and well-being? And it's not the seesaw, so they're just both moving forward.
So one of the first things that I get everybody to do is a time audit. So if they've got a calendar, awesome, that's nice and easy. Otherwise, I'll get them to fill out this time audit for the week. Where are you spending your time? What activities are you doing? Where are you spending your time that it serves us, and where does it not serve us? And then also, what are the outcomes in those activities as well? So for a lot of people, being able to then differentiate between, I was busy all day, but I don't feel like I got anything done. Let's work on that effectiveness, which then comes down to a lot of people being present in what they're doing. But then also you go like even deeper than that, comes down to like stress and sleep. Because if you've got a poor night's sleep and then you're running off caffeine, then naturally you jump from one thing to the other. Your attention span is lower, your threshold to stress is lower, your ability to make decisions and I guess think laterally and problem solve becomes lower. So a task that should take you 15 minutes now takes you 30, 35 minutes, not including distractions and interruptions. And then we're more inclined to go for cheap dopamine hits like snacks, like porn, like social media, drugs, alcohol, all that kind of stuff. And then it just becomes really ineffective.
Porn. Sorry. Yep.
If you could just slow that down for me. It just, for a lot of people, that becomes the new norm.
Sorry, I just can't get the picture of someone's at work. You're like, you know, those you see people at work like they're gaming and the boss comes around and it cuts off.
Yeah.
I'm picturing porn right now. I cut it to their work and then
they're trying to get out, it freezes.
Oh, yeah, so people are going for cheap dopamine hits.
Yeah. And then because they're not getting done what they needed to in the workday, that stress then bleeds into when they come home and their kids just trying to be kids, like, dad's home, like, play with me. And like, no, fuck off, I'm tired, I'm stressed, and just brush the kids off, get irritable with their partner, and then they dwell on that, which then affects their ability to get to sleep, which then kind of creates that. And then some people will either use drugs or alcohol for that nightcap to help them sleep, and then that cycle kind of continues.
Yeah.
So it's focusing on some of those deeper issues so that what they are doing with their most important resource being time, and then next on is energy, is that the best use right now? Because a lot of the time, especially, it's much easier for business owners if you can delegate or get rid of a lot of the fluff and you focus on those things, then life becomes so much easier and the results you get become so much easier.
So people don't have to actually give up on their career to get the results that look like, to get the progress, to get stronger, to build more muscle. So they don't have to give it up.
No, well, naturally, if you can manage your stress better and you're getting better sleep, your results from the calorie deficit, your results from training will be much greater than somebody who is running off caffeine, who is getting poor sleep, who is stressed out of their mind. It's like you're pushing shit uphill. You're going to have to work a hell of a lot harder to get those results, if you get them at all, versus someone that's well rested and not trying to fight their own biology. Your body is much more responsive to that overload of weight at the gym, that calorie deficit, or that surplus if you're trying to build, and you don't have to flog yourself to get to that point.
Yeah. Is coffee really that bad? Is it a big reason for why a lot of people are hitting that burnout and like so anxious, stressed, and overwhelmed?
I think it's contextual. So I still love coffee, despite having my BJ every day, my brain juice. And, you know, we advocate for at least getting rid of coffee and stimulants for at least the first month. It's more about getting to a point where, are you using caffeine or coffee because you just like the taste and you enjoy the experience? Or are you trying to use it as a Band-Aid to mask the fact that you have low energy, that you can't focus, and that you kind of struggle to get through the day?
Yeah, I love those people.
And so, again, nothing wrong with coffee if you just like the experience. But then if you're using anything, not just coffee, for that Band-Aid, you're much better served to fix the root cause of why you have that deficiency in the first place. And then if you still like it, cool, time it appropriately. Have it 90 minutes after waking. Don't have it in the afternoon where it's going to fuck your sleep, and life goes on. But being aware of what the real issue is and what you're actually using it for, I think benefits a lot of people.
Yeah. And for those that are wondering, like, am I one of those people? If we say to get rid of coffee and you go, no, I have to keep it, you're probably one of those people that have the Band-Aid. Those people are fun. When does training fit into that?
So for us, the approach that we take, training will often be the third thing that we implement, because most people that have trained at some point in their life, they know how to train. Most people know how they should and shouldn't eat on a general basis. And so if we give people everything to do at once, naturally they're going to focus on, I know how to train. I know how to push myself in the gym. I know how to do these things. I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to neglect the sleep routine. I'm not going to neglect the nervous system stuff, which is the stuff that we should be focusing on. So we limit the access for that for people in the starting phase until they prove that they can do those habits, and that is a priority. And then, okay, do you have, because we've now got their calendar, where do you have capacity to train that doesn't compromise your ability to do these other things which are more important right now? And then so it then fits into that calendar so that they're not having to compromise any of those things that we've identified as being a higher ROI task. And then if they've got a Whoop strap or an Oura ring, awesome, you can track your biomarkers. But for other people, it's, God forbid, having to listen to their body or their feelings, fucking amateurs. But then like looking at what else is happening in life at that point. So you've got your different sources of stress. So obviously sleep, gut health, if your relationship is on the rocks, that's going to be stressful, finances, job, plus physical stress as well. So if you're someone that is not sleeping very well, you're not eating very well, so your guts aren't happy with you, and consequently because of being so irritable and tired, maybe you're not putting out and your missus is about to kick you out, and finances are tough, then going and trying to...
Clearly, it's because I don't put out. That's why Kate's upset with me. Nothing else. Yeah, clearly.
That's it.
Fucking got me.
Saved your relationship, bro. You're welcome.
It's not that I shouted her or anything, or...
No, you can hit her, just put out and just have abs and it'll solve everything, I swear. But then, like, if you've got all those other stresses and then you try and, rep out in the gym, hit PRs every single session and just flog yourself on top of everything else, then you're going to fry your nervous system. You're going to burn yourself out. And so in that space, we dial it back until we sort out everything else. And then once you're sleeping better, once you're eating foods that don't upset your stomach and you're not bloated and you're not gassy and that system is working efficiently, plus your communication is better so you can communicate with your partner instead of getting angry and frustrated and causing all this stress and resentment, and then you kind of work down that way. Now you've got a lot more stress that you can afford to come from either a calorie deficit or from physical training in the gym. And so that's the ideal place that we want to get to, where we allocate as much stress as we physically can to the sources that are going to make us grow. In that case, build more muscle or adapt so we're fitter or whatever it might be, but conducive stress, not stress that's going to riddle us with anxiety and keep us up all night.
Nice. Well, all sounds good in theory. So I guess what would be one to three top achievements that you've had with clients or biggest wins? And to put my hand up, further curious, does it really work? Well, I can say hands down it does, because I put a missus through it. I hit about where a lot of my Kate went to a lot of coaches and just got messed up, and I was like, hey, you should check out these guys. And so in a 6-month period, went from super anxious, overwhelmed, from pushing super heavy to then being told she's always stressed, to doing bugger all, to then actually being able to come into the gym and be able to make adjustments to suit her body's needs in that day. But she worked with coaches for 3 years outside of Vitruvian Health, 3 years who were quite well known, just had lack of confidence in herself. And since working with you guys, she's been able to have that confidence to get back in the gym, and may not push super heavy every time, but she has maybe 1 week where she does 1 day a week out of the 4 sessions. She does lift heavy because she's given herself that time to recover and adapt. So I know it works, but are there any other achievements or real big highlights with all the people you've worked with that stand out?
Probably one of the biggest highlights is, and we're probably 3/4 of the way through this journey, but up until this point, this guy has quit smoking, has massively reduced his alcohol, so went on a 95-day sober streak, which before that had been absolute years, was drinking multiple times a day, has gotten off antidepressants, has lost 38 kilos, and is now in this space where he gets to create a life for himself that he didn't even think was possible 12, 18 months ago, which is really interesting to see someone go through that transition where, naturally we think that this is a trajectory of my life. This is the way that I'm going. This is how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. And then you take some of these crutches away and then you open up this box of like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. What would make you happy? And for a lot of people, that question in itself, when you've had these constraints of, it's like, you mean like looking after my kids? Oh, I'm sure that makes you kind of happy, but like, as an individual, you're more than a dad, you're more than a husband.
What about you? Me?
Who cares about me? I'm just the slave, I'm just the paycheck. Nice work, NPC. And so for a lot of guys that haven't considered that, they're so heavily fixated on their labels of dad, of provider, of business owner, that's their purpose in life. To think that they can do something purely for their own enjoyment or for their own purpose and put themselves first is like a brain explosion, completely left field. So it's really interesting watching people get to that space and then actually, first of all, realize that they don't know what makes them happy or they don't know what they want, which is a little bit scary for some people. But then getting to that place where, well, now I can experiment. Now I can try things.
Oh, experiment. Oh,
yeah, let's try it.
Oh, we're not using porn anymore. Oh,
no. Who needs porn when you start your day with a BJ?
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. 12, 18 months. And this is the thing that I love is that this is what people don't see. Here's John. He's lost 38 kilos. And, and this is one thing that a lot of people like body transformations. They're like, oh, they're crap. It's like, yeah, but it starts the message and the journey. But then having the conversation, you get to hear antidepressants, no more using a crutch of alcohol, stop smoking. And these are the things that get that transformation. The problem is the body doesn't say all that in an image, it's great to hear that. That's awesome.
Well, that's the hard part, right? It would be so much easier if we could to be able to convey that in an image of just the weight that has been lifted off this guy in all those things. Not just obviously 38 kilos is nice, but that weight emotionally and on his nervous system from everything else is tons compared to that.
And as you summarized, he can now create that life where before he had to use all of these things so he could just be present, not doing it for him, but just to show up to do the other things.
Exactly right. And for a lot of people, it's almost numbing life, using a lot of those crutches. So they don't really know what makes them happy or sad. It's just this like bleak existence of like, just when's my next numbing pill or drink or whatever coming, so that I can avoid the stress, so that I don't have to deal with that nagging wife, so that I don't have to do any of this stuff. And you get to a point where maybe you don't. What if you didn't have to put up with that? What if you didn't have to live the rest of your life like this? Like, just hypothetical.
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 We're not going to stop. We're not going to do those things. Hypothetical.
This is entertain me for a second. Let me play devil's advocate.
Mate, I love those people. And it's today, guys, like, I think I need to take TRT, but not legally. I'm like, oh, so you want to spend $400 to $500 a month on the stuff? He's like, yeah. So you can take action on your health and well-being now? He's like, yeah, definitely. I'm like, well, what would those things be? Well, I probably would start eating 4 meals a day. I'd stop drinking. I'd start sleeping properly. Oh, and I would train more. Like, I'd train smarter. He's like, I'd stop maxing out. I'm like, oh, what if you save that $400 to $500, or you give it to me? That's fine.
Give it to me. Yeah, that's what he is.
Do all those things. He's like, oh, I know he's traveling the world, and I go, or that money you would save pays for a first-class trip to Thailand. He's like, oh, I'd like to do first class. I love the hypotheticals. I'm like, but don't do that.
That's a horrible idea. Don't listen to me. I know nothing. Like, just do your thing.
Do it as Kate would say. Yes, let's stop doing illegal shit. If we were to summarize this, because for a lot of people, and Kate and I joke about this, is that like it's the government's fault. It's inflation. It's my job, my boss's fault who didn't promote me, or it's not my fault. My partner's fault. It's the kid's fault. It's the bed was not right. It's this chair. The contract, the agreement didn't go through. It's the client's fault. So it's everyone else's fault but mine. I guess if we were to summarize the 5 uncommon men on the methodology that you approach is something like a lot of people, and a lot of us are stuck. Because COVID's happened. It's now like it's done, but it's still a thing. So everyone still feels stuck. And people that are listening are like, I'm still stuck. So like, all right, what could they be doing? They're like, I feel stuck. I need to get out of it. And they need to, but it's the difference is the want. So what can they be doing with you to reach out? Like how can you best help them?
So what you can do is find us on Facebook. We've got a free Facebook group called High Performance Men. And in that, I've created a 7-day nervous system reset guide, which is just a video each day for 7 days, giving you like one super easy action item that you can do so that you can start to reduce that stress, get a bit better sleep, and increase that time that you have between trigger or event and then emotional reaction. And so eventually that's the pattern that we want to break of trigger, anger, trigger, anxiety, whatever it might be. Because if that's an emotional reaction that you're not happy with at the moment, or it's not serving you anymore, being able to slow that reaction time down and then change the emotion or the action that you take or choose because of that trigger will allow you to then choose something calmer, more peaceful, or that it enables you to make a better decision instead of going to the snacks, getting irritable at your partner, or doing something just exacerbates the issue itself. So
7 days. Come on.
7 days.
Yeah, I've been having problems for years. I'll be 7 days, mate. Come on.
It's going to take some time. But that's a start. Right?
That's all it takes. That's the start. That's it.
It's going
to... Everyone, jump in the group. Get on it. 7 days. That's all it takes.
I wanted it to make it so easy that literally anybody can do it. I don't care if you're running $1 billion business, if you work 28 hours a day and you've got 10 kids that you're a single parent from, or anything. These are things that you can action. And I guarantee that if you stack all of these over the 7 days, that you will feel different. And so the point here is that you don't have to do these massive changes. For a lot of people, the fastest way to get better at anything is to stop doing the shit making you worse. So if you are fat, if you stop eating Maccas, naturally your journey is going to be a lot easier. If you are poor, if you stop spending it on OnlyFans and stupid shit, naturally you'll have more money. So stop doing the things that are making you worse, and then you stack on a couple of those extra habits now that you've got the extra mental capacity, the extra time, and then you start to feel those effects, and it becomes so much easier to continue that train because you're noticing the difference and you've noticed how good you feel.
And for those that are numbers people, and they're like, 7 days, I'll do it in a year's time. Think of it this way. If the average person lives to about 80 years old, that's 4,160 weeks cycles that we all have. So the 7 days that we all have. We've already used up 1,248 of those. So we've only got 2,912 weeks left till it's done, game over. And all you have to do is commit one of those. It's only going to be minutes, not hours.
Let go of your ego. It's easy, just as easy not to do as it easy is to do. And that's why a lot of people don't do the simple stuff, right? But then if anyone's interested, check out the compound effect, the book, how that talks about those little habits that whether you do them or don't do them today, it doesn't really matter. But you do that habit over 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, and then that's when you notice that massive difference. Thinking on that time scale will make it a lot easier for the decisions that you make. Because it's the same with like in nutrition. Oh, if I eat my maintenance or I go over my calories a little bit today, does it really matter? Oh, I'm not going to put on 20 kilos. But if you just hit that same amount every day for the week, for the month, then you're not just maintaining, you're going to get fatter. But you create that small deficit. And then over the time, that's when you get the six pack, you lose the fat.
Yeah. And then, and this is why most people are like, how did you put on 4 or 5 kilos every year? So
a little bit there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, are there any final words other than the book from Darren Hardy of The Compound Effect, which you recommended to me, to 10X? Any other final words you'd say for anyone that's tuned in?
If you want to change something, look at what the root cause is instead of looking at the symptom. If you don't have enough energy, if you can't focus, if you want to lose weight, if you want to, whatever it is, look to what is causing that as opposed to fixing that symptom, and you will get much greater results.
So instead of reaching for coffee, maybe ask yourself, how are you sleeping?
Yeah. Better sleep than fix the world.
No, double shot espresso will fix that. Yeah. Now tuning into the next episode. So if anyone found that helpful, reach out to Harry and the 5 Uncommon Men. Just a group of 5 guys having a great time helping people live their best life. If you're a high performer and you want more out of your career and your life, then these are the guys to talk to. And jump onto their Facebook group. And that's it. Harry, it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Amigos.
Hey, thanks so much for joining the episode of Table Talk today. We hope you found some helpful tips and inspiration in staying healthy and fit. even with a busy schedule. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Stay tuned for our next conversation. Until then, keep prioritizing yourself, your health, your fitness, and we'll see you on the next Table